So meanwhile, President Clinton continues to get away with everything. He made some comments the other day that went largely unremarked upon by mainstream media. He said in an interview that sexual misconduct norms have changed. How have they changed, President Clinton? Explain.
In general, I think it's a good thing, yes. I think it's a good thing that we should all have higher standards. I think the norms have really changed in terms of what you can do to somebody against their will, how much you can crowd their space, make them miserable at work. You don't have to physically assault somebody to make them, uncomfortable at work or at home or in their just walking around.
Okay, so the standards have changed about how much you can do with somebody against their consent. I love that the follow-up question here is not, well, what was the standard with Juanita Broderick? What was the standard with Paula Jones? What was the standard with Kathleen Willey? My favorite part of all these interviews with Bill Clinton is that James Patterson, the best-selling author maybe of all time, is sitting next to him just looking egregiously uncomfortable, just looking like he wants to crawl into a hole and die. It's pretty spectacular. But Bill Clinton, again, still a respected voice on the left, and then we wonder why people don't take the media seriously. We wonder why when the media asks critical questions about North Korea, everybody blows them off. Maybe it's because they're a bunch of hypocrites. Maybe it's because they're ridiculous. Now, speaking of ridiculous, this story is amazing. So Jack Dorsey, who's the head of Twitter, he tweeted out that he had ordered a bag of sandwiches from Chick-fil-A. So he tweeted out, "Boost Chick-fil-A," and then it showed a image of how much money he has spent at Chick-fil-A. He spent like $30 at Chick-fil-A. And then he was called on it by Soledad O'Brien, who immediately said, "This is an interesting company to boost during Pride Month, Jack, because it's Gay Pride Month this month," which if you didn't know, congratulations, it's Gay Pride Month. And then Jack responded, "You're right, completely forgot about their background. He never should have shopped at Chick-fil-A during Gay Pride Month. It's basically like gay Ramadan. Now it's during this month. We're going to fast from all of the Christian-owned companies during gay Ramadan, Gay Pride Month. No one must ever shop from Chick-fil-A, a company that has never discriminated against homosexuals in any way, but whose owners are against same-sex marriage. Anybody who shops at Chick-fil-A is violating the precepts of Gay Pride Month, because the gay pride jihadis are going to come after you and insist that you do repentance." Very, very important stuff from Soledad O'Brien. The best part of this is that Soledad O'Brien did an event in 2012 sponsored by Chick-fil-A. So she was happy to take the cash from Chick-fil-A, but now she's very upset that Gay Pride Month, its sanctity has been violated by the evil that is tweeting out that you shopped at Chick-fil-A to get a sandwich. And then people wonder why people voted for President Trump. As critical as I am of President Trump from time to time, the fact is that the left does nothing but push people into President Trump's camp with social culture war issues like this. I like a lot of President Trump's policy. I don't like a lot of President Trump's rhetoric. Some of the things President Trump does, like this North Korean summit, I think are foolhardy and problematic. But when you have an entire group of people who insist that I cannot shop at the chicken sandwich shop of my choosing because that might offend homosexual people for no reason at all, it sort of makes me think maybe I'll just vote for the guy who's not doing that. Maybe I'll vote for the guy who doesn't take that stuff particularly seriously. Pretty amazing stuff there from Jack Dorsey. I love that Jack Dorsey has to acknowledge that. So it took Jack Dorsey like months and months and months to punish Louis Farrakhan by taking away his verification on Twitter. He shouldn't have taken away his verification. He shouldn't ban him either. I think it's good Louis Farrakhan is out there. He reminds us how scummy human beings can be. He's just a piece of garbage. But that said, Jack Dorsey has banned a number of people from Twitter, but not Louis Farrakhan. So he still hasn't banned Louis Farrakhan, but he's never going to shop at Chick-fil-A during Gay Pride Ramadan. So that's very exciting stuff. Okay, meanwhile, speaking of ridiculous stuff, the Tony Awards happened last night, and they on Sunday night, and they were particularly replete with anti-Trump rhetoric, foolishness. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Robert De Niro dropped an F-bomb on the air. He decided that to show what a hero he was going to say F Trump in front of a crowd of people who hate Trump, because that's really heroism. I mean, the approval rating for Trump in this room is negative 37%. Like, it's not even, there is no approval rating. I mean, it's 100% disapproval. And so he did something really brave. He went out there and ripped Trump in front of all these people at the Tony Awards.
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
Standing ovation. Woo! Standing ovation. He said F Trump.
Trump, it's Trump.
Woo! You know what? And then I love how they stand and they cheer, and then he goes like this. He gives like the big two fists up, and he like pumps his fists as though he's actually succeeded in making Trump not president anymore. That by shouting F Trump, Trump is no longer the president. It's in the Constitution. If Robert De Niro goes on stage and and shouts F Trump about you, then that means that we can safely remove the president from office. And then, of course, Andrew Garfield got up, the guy from Spider-Man, not the new one that's good, the old one that's bad. He got up and he started talking about how everybody should everybody should basically bake cakes for the gays if they are asked to do so for a gay wedding and such.
We are all sacred and we all belong. So let's just bake a cake for everyone who wants a cake to be baked.
Except for Christians. Christians are not sacred, and they do not belong. Christians do not belong. And as I proposed yesterday, I believe that Andrew Garfield should actually act. I will write a play about the Christian bakers who were discriminated against by the Colorado Commission on Civil Rights, and Andrew Garfield can play the lead. He can play the Christian baker, and I will raise the money to do that. And he should have to do that because he should act for whoever wants him to act. I mean, it's a free market. It's an open society. He should. I demand his services, and his services I shall have. Andrew Garfield's. And then it got even better, of course. This actress from a new musical about Harry Potter, I guess. She says that President Trump should not come to see the show. He should be banned from the show. So Andrew Garfield says that a Christian baker should have to service a same-sex wedding, but this actress says, her name is Noma Dumezweni. She says that Trump should not be able to come to her play. So, yeah, there's no double standard here at all.
Should the president come see the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child?
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Anybody else, yes, but not him. So here's a question. The question is, why is it that the Tony Awards, like the Oscars, like the Emmys, have catered so specifically to one segment of the population? Now, the easy answer is they're all a bunch of leftists and they hate the right. That's true, but that doesn't explain why they've been allowed to get away with it. So the Tony Awards do not get big ratings. The Tony Awards got something like 6.3 million total viewers. By way of contrast, Game 4 of the NBA Finals, which was down this year, drew twice that, drew 12.9 million viewers. And few Americans have actually seen the shows featured at the Tonys. Basically, Broadway attendance for musicals has been effectively stagnant since 2006, 2007. Nobody's seen any of these plays. So why is it that the Tonys are so far out of the political mainstream? Well, the reason is because of an element called renormalization. So renormalization is this weird thing where a small group of people can impact a large group of people. So here's how it works. You have a family of 4. One of the members of your family is a vegetarian. So instead of you having to cook 2 separate meals, you just cook a vegetarian meal for everyone. Right, so now all 4 people have to have a vegetarian meal. Now that family goes to a party. There are 4 families there. And only one of the families is vegetarian. Well, the person who's throwing the party may think, well, I really don't want to cook 2 meals, so I'm just going to make the entire thing vegetarian. So one person who's vegetarian can convert an entire group of people into eating vegetarian at a particular meal. Well, the same thing happens when it comes to Broadway. There are motivated niche groups who only go to the theater if their particular group is catered to, and these happen to be hardcore leftist groups particularly. And so those shows are what tends to be produced because they figure that everybody else who's coming to Broadway will see whatever it is that is provided. In the same way that the meat eater will eat the vegetarian meal, a bunch of people who don't care about these niche shows will go to see the niche shows because they're there for Broadway anyway, and that's how Broadway remains liberal, continues to make money. It's only exposed, of course, on the Tonys when millions of people watch it, when millions of people see this liberalism and this leftism put on full display in front of the entire country, and they find it completely off-putting. But that's how the market actually allows for Broadway and Hollywood to remain so left, even while they alienate huge swaths of the country. Okay, so time for a couple of things that I like and then some things that I hate. So, things that I like. My kid has been, I'm going to talk a little bit of Star Wars here because there is a big news story about Kathleen Kennedy. So there's a lot of talk about whether Kathleen Kennedy, who's the head of Lucasfilm, is going to step down from the Star Wars franchise, that she's going to step down as the head of Lucasfilm. And I am going to talk about that in just a second. First, I want to talk about how much I like Star Wars, because I like Star Wars so much that my kids are familiar with all the music. Their favorite has been this rendition for a little while. My 2-year-old son particularly loves this. He calls it Cello War. He loves Cello Wars. Okay, Cello Wars is, there's this group of guys, they're called the Piano Guys, and they did this version of the Star Wars music, and it's just for 2 cellos, and basically there's a little bit of background music, I believe, from a synthesizer or a piano, and it's pretty cool. So it's pretty fun. You can get all their music on iTunes. They have a lot of good stuff. So go check out the Piano Guys. I really enjoy a lot of their music. This thing has several million hits on YouTube for good reason. It's pretty well produced.